Greetings, colleagues in the public relations and communication management profession, our strategic partners, friends, and colleagues. My name is Victor Sibeko. I'm the PRISA Chief Executive Officer and the convener of the PRISA Webinar Series. Please note that we are running these webinars as thought leadership masterclasses and certainly not a tick box exercise. We have an obligation to our members as a professional body to keep abreast of all developments in issues related to our profession. We are joined today by an astute professional, a thought leader, a senior consultant, and a managing director of Don Valley Reputation Managers, based in Cape Town, South Africa. He is also a past president of PRISA and a convener of Africa Brand Summit, Mr. Solly Moeng. He will be taking us through today's topic, destination branding as the world re-emerges from the global pandemic. We all know that COVID-19 has placed many regions, countries, cities of the world into a rather difficult fix, especially given soaring casualty numbers and restrictions on travel and gatherings. The questions we need to get answers for today are: what is the role of public relations and communication? And who should communicate? Is it government or the public sector? What is the role of residents, the citizens of a country? How can citizens be galvanized to be positive ambassadors? Lastly, is there room for spin doctoring in all this? Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcome Mr. Solly Moeng.
You can't have a discussion about a country brand or a destination brand without going into politics, because it would never be an honest discussion, especially in our environment where politics impacts so much on destination brands. You can't talk about all the beautiful things in the country, the infrastructure, the tourist attractions, without talking about other things that make people decide to come to your country or not come to the country. And when you're talking about destination brands, not just discussing politics, tourism. It's also about FDI. It's also about a whole lot of other things that will make people decide or not to take interest, to do business with or inside of your country. So anyway, the first basics. I don't know if you can see the slides, the basics. I just want to speak to that a little bit. Can you see it? I think that all brands have to be armed with 3 or 4 things really. First, you have to have a set of values, or a clear vision first. A clear vision, where are you taking the brand? If you close your eyes and imagine your brand in the next 10, 20, 15 years, what do you see? First, next thing, you have to have leadership. And leadership must be not just anybody because they have a business card on which it is written leader. Are you able to hear me? Okay. You need to have a leadership that is emotionally intelligent, that is balanced, that is empathetic, that understands that it's not just about them or about him or her, but it's about the collective, it's about a social contract. And of course, you have to have a social contract. You have to have a set of values. You have to agree how we're going to walk this journey together to the 10 years or to the 15 years or to the 30-year mark. And a lot of times when the social contract gets broken, we see in America, there's been a lot of talk of social contracts. Even in South Africa, I think in a lot of ways, our social contract has been broken. So when the guys that we put to be leaders decide to break the promise, to do their own thing, then other people start saying to themselves, why must we follow them? Why must we follow the rules that we agreed upon at the beginning of our journey, when the people leading us are not living by the same rules? So all brands have to have all of those things. But people leading the brand also to enjoy a 360-degree view of where the brand is going. It's very important that you know, because no brand lives in a vacuum, whether it's a destination brand, whether it's a country, a city, or a product. Now, there are other things that are happening in the internal environment, in the immediate external environment, and in the global environment. I mean, COVID-19 has given us good reason to see that we are not alone. What happens here can impact elsewhere. What happens in Wuhan, in China, can impact South Africa, America, Canada, India, etc., etc. So I think those are the basics that I think I needed to put in place, to put up front. The next, I want to go to the next slide just to give you a view. We're going to talk about why it's important to have this conversation. We'll talk about the impact of needed to give, or, before COVID-19, and what they should expect, what changes that we should expect after COVID-19. And then after that, we'll talk about the implications. So this slide here, let's stick to this slide. Strong destination brands, obviously, when it is strong, it will attract mice, it will attract, which is the meetings, incentives, conference, and events business that brings a lot of money into any destination, whether it's a city, it's a country, it's a region, it's a continent. Leisure tourism, we all understand that the value of it, the long-term FDI, and I specifically said long-term FDI because, people sometimes get excited when investors come in here, put money quickly and take it out quickly. That money doesn't really make a difference. At least not the kind of difference that will be made by money that comes to stay, that capital investments that come into a country, into a city, into a region to build stuff, to build skills, to build people, to fund business, small business, etc. So usually when investors are not too sure of a destination, they do that. They come in and they leave quickly. They will put money into ventures that allow them to take the money out as quickly as possible. That's not what you want. If you are a strong brand or destination brand, you want to be the kind of destination that people want to pack their money in for a while so that it benefits as many people as possible. And of course, fees paid for still underestimate, especially in a country like South Africa, where government has decided that a tertiary schooling or tertiary fees will be free for South African students. Nothing is really for free. Somebody has to pay for that, right? So we need to offer the kind of education, the quality of education at that level that people will be proud to come and pay for in South Africa. They must come from Canada or from Zimbabwe or from India or from the UAE, from America. People must be able, in the same way that South Africans love to walk with their chins up when they boast about their Oxford universities or their Sorbonne University qualifications and others. We want people to say, I studied at the University of so-and-so in South Africa, and I'm very proud to have studied there because this is the kind of education that you get from that university. And those people pay, and they pay in dollar rates. That money is needed by institutions, it's needed by a government, it's needed by society, okay? And there are a whole lot of other foreign exchange earning opportunities that attractive brands bring. People always navigate to brands that are attractive. People like to say I was in Monaco, and they like to say I was in Nice or in France. They like to say I was in Switzerland. They like to say, because those are very attractive brands, and we can be attractive brands. Brands don't just become attractive organically. There's got to be a plan, and that's what I was referring to in my first slide when I said you need to have a vision. What do you want your brand to be known for? For any brand, really, whether it's a destination brand, the corporate brand, a product brand, what do you want these things to be associated with? And if you can't have those conversations and you can't give yourself clear answers, then you're going to find yourself running in all directions and achieving nothing. And of course, there are also all sorts of other projects that are multilaterally funded. Right? What's that? Okay, so this is really to paint a picture of the kind of opportunities that lie available for brands that are attractive. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Okay.
Can you go to the next slide? And the next one. Okay, so before COVID-19, the world was all cozy. And can you go to slide before that? Number 8. The one before that, Victor.
Yep. Got it, sir.
No, that one. There you go. So, all destinations have to offer a reliable health system, clear political policy and stability. Those things are very important. Clear, predictable social or sound economic policies, a peaceful, stable environment, general safety. And it doesn't matter whether you're thinking about investors, potential investors, or tourists, or people coming to attend conferences and events. All of these things do matter. They matter because they bring money into the country. If your country doesn't offer these things, if you don't offer secure internet, especially these days, or good, reliable airline connectivity, people are going to struggle to come to you, or if getting a visa to come to your country is really hard. I mean, I had friends in India, for instance, wanting to come to attend the Africa Brain Summit last year. They had to they were forced to travel all the way to New Delhi to get visas. It was really frustrating. Two people who were really important for the summit never made it because of the difficulty of having to go to another city to go and get the visa. So the modern business structure, all these are basics of any destination brand that takes itself seriously. The business infrastructure has to be sound. The banking infrastructure has to be sound. And obviously the tourist attractions, when people come, whether they're coming for business or to tourism business or proper business, they will want to do other things, especially for a country like South Africa, for instance, which is what we call a long-haul destination for many of its source markets. People coming from Europe, from North America, from Australasia, or from Asia, they have to travel quite a long time to get here. So you want to make sure when they come here, they really have out to do that, make them spread the wealth, as it were, spend more money in hotels and restaurants, local attractions, and other activities, and see as much as possible about the country. Because when people come to your destination, and it doesn't have to be South Africa, I'm just really giving South Africa as an example. When people come to your destination the first time, they have to have a good time. Because once they have a good time, those are the people who are going to go back home and rave. And they are more credible because they come from those countries. They'll go and rave about your city, your region, your country, how they were treated when they arrived at the border through customs, how they were taken care of. If they lost a wallet, somebody brought it back to the hotel, or they left something in the room and they came later and found it. So we all are responsible for making sure that people who come to our destination have a good time and they feel safe and they feel they can trust us, they can do business with us, they feel they invest their income or money in our country. So all these things make what was normal, it should have been normal for destinations before COVID-19. Can you go to the next one? Or the next one? We're gonna go to slide number, the next one. I don't know how it says, what must destinations offer post-COVID? Yeah, that one. So you see, it's pretty much the same list. I won't stay too much on this slide. No, that one is good. I won't say too much on it. Go back to it. Go back again. Victor, do you want to return to that slide, please? So, I don't know, up. Yeah. So the point I'm making with this, you'll see, Victor, you'll see this slide is very much similar to the one I presented before. The only thing I added here is hygiene, which I highlighted. And why? Because after COVID-19, you're going to find that people, you can stay on the slide, you're going to find that people are going to be a lot more worried about health safety issues, right? Victor, do you want to move to the slide just before that? Just before that one. Can you hear me? This one, that's the COVID-19 effect. Just before that one. Yeah, this one. Stay here. Okay, I want to read that for you. That's the only thing I'm going to read out for you. It says, this is from another published recent, and I think it says a lot about where we are as a world, as destinations around the world. It says the travel and tourism business is on its knees. You know, country borders are sealed, cities are at a standstill, flights are grounded, cruise ships are docked in harbors, trains are stationary, buses are packed in depot, hotels are shut, restaurants are shuttered. No one knows when the fury of the virus will abate. No vaccine is in sight. People are cloistered in their homes. Social distancing is the new mantra. Masks and gloves are the new safety accoutrement. And no one is even thinking of a holiday, let alone planning for one. And this is really important. Can you go to the next slide? It's very important. So we're in a world where there's a lot more fear. People are going to be less willing to travel to destinations, to travel in groups, especially. Yeah, stay on this one. People are going to be less prepared to travel in groups. road trips are going to be, I'm just picking up points I'm raising there. I really want to create an environment for us to have a conversation after this one. So road trips are going to be easier because we're traveling with members of your family or one or two other people that you know. Group travel, a country like South Africa, for instance, which is, as I said earlier, a long-haul destination for many of its core high-end spenders, has relied to a very large extent on old people. If you take old people in America, they've worked many years, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of time, they are retired. An average American okay has 2 weeks vacation per annum. In America, if you're older, you've worked, and if you have all the money sitting in your bank account, you can afford to travel for a month, and they spend a lot of money. So those people are going to be scared of traveling now, because we know that COVID-19, older people are set to be more vulnerable to COVID-19 than other people. So things are changing. People want to know, those 5-star hotels that used to get it easy before are going to have to offer something better. Value for money is going to be important. People are broke. People have lost jobs. Businesses have shut down. People have been living on their savings. A lot of people have been living on their savings over the past 3 months. So it means that there's less disposable income available for people to just spend willy-nilly on a trip over there, another trip over there, or high-end stuff, until they are secured in the new economy, until people know whether they can see a pipeline of secure, consistent income over the next 12 months or 3 years or 4 years. They're not going to be spending a lot of money in a way that they would have in the past. So what should destinations be doing? You should offer those. Domestic tourism is important, first of all. In South Africa, we've said it. How do you encourage your locals, whether it's in South Africa, in America, or elsewhere, to travel? But obviously, with all the safety precautions taken into account, those are important. How do you make sure that your facilities, where they're going to stay, the hotels or where the B&Bs, they're not open, or homestays, they integrate all those new healthy requirements? Health services are going to be under stress in the new world. That's why people are going to be less keen to expose themselves to situations where they might need to be hospitalized, because we don't know. I mean, we've had in South Africa, for instance, where people have been told to stay at home because we don't want them to get flu, especially now during winter, because we get flu and it gets really bad. We need to be hospitalized. The government or the health service or the health sector needs those services for COVID-19 patients. They don't have enough space for everybody else. So it's really important that we take these things into an economic instability is growing in South Africa. We've seen the budget 2 days ago. It's really bad. So this is a new world that COVID-19 is bringing up to us. But we have to be realistic about these things. COVID-19 really gave us a kick on the butt when we were already lying down. And I'm talking about South Africa. The fact of the matter is that a lot of the problems we face, it's very easy for politicians to say everything is was caused by COVID-19. We know that's nonsense. Everything was not caused by COVID-19. Within a few weeks after going into the COVID-19 situation, our country was downgraded. So we have a really bad economy. And that was not because of COVID-19. That was because of other things that were done badly by leadership of this brand, South Africa. All right. So we're dealing with a whole basket of problems that were made worse by the COVID experience. And we as individuals, we are on our own. In a country or in countries where there is not a lot of wealth, South Africa is even far better than other countries in the rest of the continent, because we can still have to give people government grants and employment grants. I don't know how long we can do that for, but the point I'm making is that the destination is on its weakest point ever. The economy is bad. We're not sure about the political policies, right? So the world has been saying to a country like South Africa, we had it at Davos earlier this year, you guys, we don't know what you're selling because your policies are not clear. Your political policies, are you going to be, expropriating land without compensation? How is it going to be done? Who's going to be benefiting? What are the processes that you're going to follow? What kind of economic policy are you guys going to go? You guys need to introduce some reforms into your system. We've had Minister Tito Mboweni talk about reforms. We don't know what those reforms are going to look like because they haven't been unpacked for us, as it were. We've heard about the new economy, the new transformed economy. We've heard that COVID-19 is going to provide South Africa with an opportunity to go into a totally revamped economy that's going to be inclusive, but we don't know the details of it. And all of these things are not good. They are not good for South Africans because you have to create a confidence first in South Africa. And they're not good for people who are looking for opportunities to invest. I think the most important thing also I need to point out, right at the top left there, is the issue of stiffer competition for multilateral funds. Now, countries in the developing world in this environment are now knocking at the doors of the World Bank, they're knocking at the doors of the IMF, they're knocking at the doors of the New Development Bank, knocking at the doors of the EU, maybe North America or America, etc., asking for funds, asking for help, isn't it? But how are you going to get that help if everybody else is asking for help? So basically, the IMF has so much to give, the World Bank has so much to give. Now we're also hearing stories that a country like South Africa is too wealthy compared to other smaller countries to be given aid or to be given the kind of aid that it's asking for. Even the aid that we're asking for is not going to help us bridge the gap. If we look at we have a government debt to GDP, which is sitting at 81%. That's a lot, all right? In the year 2008, 2009, when Mbeki was taken out of power, our debt to GDP was at 21%. That's a massive, massive fall for South Africa. So this is the environment we're sitting in. COVID-19 didn't make it easy for us. How do we go forward? Can we now go to the next slide, please? So we're sitting with a destination brand that used to be shining. You know, that is really a shining light in Africa. I believe it was a shining light in Africa. A lot of people came here. We had leadership like Mandela at some point, and whether you agree with it or not, when Mandela was leader, people came from all over the world just to meet him. I used to, some of you might know this, I used to work with South African tourism, and part of our job was to identify awesome Americans. We had a program called the Guest Program. So we used to identify awesome Americans, influential Americans to invite them to South Africa, because we knew that when they came here, they would go back and say to others, to friends, and on their social media pages, wow, I went to South Africa and this is what it's like, you must go. It's more cool when it than when it comes from us. Some of those people used to give us as conditions, and I want to go to your country, a picture with Mandela. So music stars, film stars, politicians, soccer stars, artists, academics, religious people, everybody wanted to be photographed with Mandela. When last did you hear foreign people insisting on being photographed with the president of South Africa after Mandela left? Can you ask yourself why? And can you ask yourself what the opportunity cost is, how much you've lost from the goodwill and the money a lot of those people brought to this country because of the leadership. Richard Branson came here with his Virgin Active gyms because of Mandela. There are many others. So now, one point I'm making is everything is linked. So you can't have a conversation about destination building without discussing the impact of politics on it, because then that would be an unfair, an incomplete and an insincere conversation, in my view. So it's very important that we as communicators, especially those who have the fortune to be advising government, we must be honest with our clients. You know, a lot of times I've worked with people who are dishonest, who will want to say what the clients want to hear, or they will not tell the client the truth the client must hear. I walk away from clients. Okay, this is good for you. If you're going to go the other route, you're losing yourself. I'm happy to take your money and disappear, but first, I'm not here for that. So when you work with clients as strong advisors, communication, strategic advisors, you need to be able to say to them, you can't take that route, or you can't measure performance that way, because it doesn't work. You know, we've had these conversations before. It's very, very important that you have honest conversations with the clients. Now, this slide that you're looking at, it gives an idea of possible scenarios going forward, right? We have, are we going to have a vaccine? And if we have a vaccine, what's going to happen? How many, to what extent will people be prepared to travel? Or if we don't have it, or if this thing stays, basically the first scenario is it stays with us, but there are controls. The other scenario says, well, the virus would almost be eradicated and there would be an existing treatment, but people will still say, yeah, okay, maybe I'll travel, but not far, maybe only by car, maybe only with my friends, etc. Now, that's the best scenario where it says, okay, it's already gone, the virus would completely vanish, but some 15%, and this is just one survey, of course, I'm not saying this is necessarily, but it gives a good idea. People from now onwards will still be a lot more careful. They still want to be reassured that things are clean, they will be unhappy to be with lots of crowds, especially when people are not wearing face masks, protecting themselves and others. So all of these things are really, really important to know. How do you then change the way you manage your brand, your destination brand? How do you assure other people? How do you take into account that it's now a really competitive environment we live in? And it's not just you, whether you are asking for funds from the IMF and the World Bank, it's not just you, other people are asking, what argument are you going to put in front? If you want those tourists to come back to South Africa or to India or to Kenya or to Nairobi, to Zimbabwe or to Kigali, Rwanda, what argument are you going to give them that will make them decide to come to you and not to the other destination? And these things have to be taken into account. What kind of leadership, what kind of promise have you made to yourself, to your people, and to the rest of the world about where you're taking your country to? And if there's too much uncertainty or doubt or contradictions in the things that you say, my view is that you're going to struggle to get people to be interested in your destination.
All right.
Thank you. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moeng, for a well presented seminar. I was just worried about something else. Okay, now you've asked very pertinent questions. You know, leadership and brand, and one might say, why are we running this and why are we talking about country brand? When I started earlier on, I said there's a lot of things that people look at and that we also look at as individuals. Now, there seem to be, as public relations and communication practitioners, there is a role that we each have to play. Now, who should be really communicating? Is it both the public relations practitioners or organizations and government, or should we also bring in the citizens in these conversations?
Well, I spoke about the social contract. You know, a brand, let's take a corporate brand. If we have a company called Zinc, okay, you can't have the PR division going out there to say, yeah, we're a great company, we're doing awesome work, when the people inside, the employees in the company are going to be the first one to say, that's nonsense, that's not true, they're lying. The leadership can't go around the world saying, we are the best employer, when the employees are going to say, excuse me, that best employer where? The leadership can't go out and say, these are the values of our business, this is how we all behave. And then the CEO does a whole lot of other things that are totally contrary to the values. The same thing applies to countries. So the citizens have to be the best ambassadors of the destination. When the citizens are not happy, they need to support. So it's going to be partnership, to answer your question, obviously, in partnership with government, honest people working who are able to work with business and civil society and forge a message. This is where we're taking our country. These are the difficulties. You have to be honest about difficulties. There's no country or destination that is perfect. So how do we deal with our challenges? How do we make sure that everybody benefits? And the more people you have around the table, the more support you're going to have, the more ambassadors you're going to have of your messages.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Moeng. Let me open up the floor and allow for Q&A. Please ask a question, and then Mr. Moeng will respond to the question accordingly. Any takers? By the way, you can raise your hand. It's one of the features we have here. Right. Okay, Dr. Ludima.
You have to unmute yourself. I can't hear you.
Please unmute yourself, Dr. Ludima.
I have already.
Oh,
I have
great.
already.
Thank you. Welcome.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Soli. I mean, it's been a long time. Soli and I, we met at the embassy of France in South Africa, and I asked Soli to be part of the board of the Alliance Française. I mean, he's as we can see here, he's a great leader. Yeah. Thank you so much for this talk here. And indeed, I mean, what I really appreciated, I mean, first of all, a remark and then a question. really appreciated the fact that actually you have demonstrated that the COVID was a catalyst. Actually, it was not. I mean, COVID was not responsible for. I mean, the economic decline, but then it was like a catalyst. And from what I have read around and my comparison with France, because I'm in France, is that the reaction to it, I mean, not only in South Africa, but worldwide, was prehistoric in the sense that actually it's the first time in history that you confine everyone, people who are sick, people who are not sick, together, and actually forbid them to go outside and actually breathe properly. So this is the problem. And because of this prehistoric reaction to it, we are, as you said just now, we are almost compelled to go on our knees and ask money to the IMF and the World Bank. And the fact is that South Africa and other countries, just like France as well, because Macron was also actually can be criticized for his reaction to it, states are going to become slave states, all right? And slave states in front of rogue states who, which are not representing people, but who are actually representing lobbies. So this is one thing. So how can we deal with lobbies, big pharma? So that's one question. And the second question, if I may, I mean, I have just really enjoyed this conference. The second question, indeed, about Mandela. I mean, that was, I remember that my former husband met Mandela, took a picture. He was working in the French embassy. And indeed, as you said, everybody wanted to come to South Africa because at the time South Africa was, and I mean, for me, it still is because it's one of the newest democracies. Mandela is, for us foreigners, the world of possibilities. You know, you can get free. It's the world of freedom. This is important. So I'm asking the second question is, can we and how can we deconstruct the mythology around the virus so that we can gain our freedom again? Because the problem is we need a new storytelling to deconstruct that mythology. So thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Well, I think we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity. A lot of things are happening right now. I mean, the Black Lives Matter, phenomenon is happening right now. COVID-19, and the whole world is coming together around the same issues. They're not happy issues, but they're issues that make us ask ourselves: are we doing things right? I mean, are we treating other people right? To what extent can we have more global collaboration around certain issues? And like you mentioned of rogue countries, it's true that we are going to, especially African countries which are poor, they're going to find themselves begging for getting more and more loans from China. And China, we know China and how it manages things. It's very scary. We've seen how it reacts when countries are not able to pay back the money that we borrowed from it. So maybe we're talking about a social contract. Maybe there's a new global contract that needs to be agreed upon. How do we manage things going forward? What do we do if this thing happens again in 5-10 years time? How do we make sure that it kills less people, or that there's more global coordination? Maybe we need a new global contract. We need to look at how we take care of poor states, because the fact of the matter is this thing also brings into mind the issue of migrations. People migrate to countries which they, in their view, are attractive countries for whatever reason. They're going to get jobs, better lives, and all of that. So maybe the world needs leadership. I'm not sure that we have that leadership in America. Maybe we have it somewhere in Europe or in Africa. I'm not sure. We need leadership that will say, guys, then where to from here? How are we going to rearrange the way we live together as humans? Because we share this planet, you know, and the things, it could be a climate, environmental that happens next time that affects everybody else. You know, it could be something in the seas or, you know, the Amazon. How do we get to a world where practitioners always integrate? You know, I like to discuss the issue of stakeholder engagement and the way stakeholders are everybody. You know, there was a time when your brain stakeholders were just the people who are directly invested in it or employed by it. But now stakeholders are everybody. How do you, so we are all stakeholders of this world that we share. How do you make sure that we create a more caring societies at local level, but a more caring world, a more globalized world, a world where we can share ideas and share caring, share resources, and another world where some are so wealthy they don't even know what to do with the world, and some are so poor they have to navigate towards the ones who are wealthy and beg for stuff. That's what I'm saying. So these are opportunities to do things differently, and we shouldn't miss the opportunity to do something, to have the necessary conversations to build for the future.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question or comment? Okay, I see a lot of people are still trickling in, coming back, and rejoining us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Victor, good morning. Good morning. Yeah,
morning.
my small challenge is that internet is very bad. Internet is very bad. Yes. My internet is very bad. The connection is very bad. My question is, I missed out a greater part of this presentation. Is it possible to get the recordings and the slides?
Well, it is, but you can type in your question on the chat. Go onto the chat, type in the question. I can read it out to Mr. Moeng. But we will share the recording. Mr. Dube?
Spare connection.
Okay. All right. We have a lady from NTF Marketing who's been listening tentatively. As a marketer, I would like to find out, because this topic is very important, and I often say the only profession that is going to assist companies get out of the mess is public relations, communication, sales, and marketing, because we are the front runners. So from the marketing perspective, the lady from NTF, what is your take on brand, destination branding?
Hi, morning. Thank you for having me. Hi there.
Hi there.
Hi.
Actually, the NTF stands for the Namibia Trade Forum, and we are aligned with the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade. And well, I'm a communications specialist, so it's just very interesting. For us in Namibia, I mean, tourism is a huge contributor to our GDP. And what has happened now with the borders closing obviously has had a ripple effect, I'm sure, as it has in South Africa, with the job loss and everything else. And I think a big part of this, and maybe I can hear from yourself and Mr. Moeng and anybody else who understands, is that rebuilding the trust, that from the public, that like you said earlier, it's safe to now come, because our population is very small, and it's not just also from the tourist side, it's from, I think when they had a talk yesterday where our line minister and the Minister of Finance had a talk at our Chamber of Commerce, is that, and the lady who's the head of our tourism industry, she brought up a topic that's saying, what, a lot of tourists are also now being victimized and scared, because they are seen as the ones bringing in the COVID and this thing. So I think what Dr. Ludmilla said about that reestablishing the brand that is Namibia or whichever country it might be, and therein lies the challenge, because yes, they've now opened up, and the thing is also funny enough, when you're talking about domestic travel, is that very often a lot of the pricing models and stuff for the local tourism was overpriced. They were pricing it for the European, market. And now they're sort of trying to rework that pricing model to accommodate us locals. But then again, going back to what you said on your slide, the money is simply not there. So right now, my choice is, am I paying school fees? Do I want to go away for a weekend? You know what I mean? So I think Your question is very valid, and the entire time that Solly was talking, I was trying to think, geez, this is like a catch-22 situation. How do you tell someone, yes, for your wellness and everything, and to rebuild our economy, you've got to spend that money, but then the trust is not quite there because of the health facilities. So yeah, that's my conundrum that I was thinking about.
Great comment.
I love that question. You know, we must accept that for some people still have a bit of cash, but they will be careful how they spend that cash and where they spend it, right? And other people don't have the cash, but also issues of safety. In South Africa, we have that big problem with people having lost a lot of jobs. I have people coming to knock at my gate, often asking for food. And crime, people have been breaking into buildings, into homes to steal. So issues of safety are very important. If you want to attract tourists back, you need to reassure them. And the PR and communication people have a role to play in helping government. Government must not be too political about this. They must listen to professionals. The thing is, when we have politicians who refuse to listen to professionals, and then the whole thing doesn't work. But you also can't lie. So there's no room for spin. There shouldn't be room for spin. There should be, communication people should not just be people who purveyors of political messages. Okay, say, is this what you want to say? Fine, I'm going to say it this way. You must be advisors. Like I said earlier, you must be able to say to them, but you can't say it's safe here when it's not safe here. You can't say, but we have all the measures to make sure that people are, social or physical distancing and sanitizers are available when those things are available. You can't lie, because when you lie, you're going to hurt your country. We live in a world where social media is big. The media has got big brother eyes all over the place. So the lie that you tell in a little room is going to come out there, and it's going to hurt you, and it's going to be more expensive for you to repair the lie as well. So I think everybody must be asking themselves, how do we work together? How do we create teams, multidisciplinary teams of engineers, of communicators, of media, that will make sure that what we take out there is rounded. And the issue of affordability for locals is a big one. But in South Africa also, for many, many years, because of apartheid, there were still black people who were not too comfortable to travel to certain areas because they didn't think they would be accepted, or they would not be given the same treatment as white counterparts. How do we come together and say, this is the new world? Whether we like it or not, it is the new order. And we have to be part of ordering that order, as it were. Otherwise, it's going to go into different directions. So we have to ask ourselves as communicators, what role can we play to advise government? And each one of us, I'm not working for government right now. I have colleagues who are, maybe not directly, but I write issues. I use the space I have in the media to say this is what should happen, because I think I have a role to play, and I can use the space, use your platform, use whatever platforms you have to say, guys, we're in it together. If we want to do the right thing, we must think of A, B, C, D, E. Otherwise, we're not going to succeed.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sibeko?
We have a question from Christopher Chris from Travel Africa. He says, how do we get destination marketing organizations to successfully employ effective sales strategies and convert the target market into actual customers? Very interesting.
Yeah. Look, the destination marketers come in different packages. Some of them are too politically controlled, and I don't have, honestly, a lot of respect for those who would come with too much political burden. But there are others, and I must say, Westgrove, for instance, in the Western Cape, tends to be very market-driven. You need destination marketing agencies and people who have an eye to the market, because the aim is to market the destination. So you have helping the destination means also giving advice to your political masters, right? But also having an eye. You mustn't be too far away from the market. You need to understand what is happening in the market. What are the issues that are hitting the market? I mean, right now, and again, I'm going back to what's happened, at least in South Africa. We had the various tourism sectors coming together, the MICE sector coming together, the hospitality sector, the accommodation sector, tour operators, etc., coming together to create sector bodies that spoke to government. They all came together and said, if for our sector, for my sector, for the accommodation sector, for the restaurant sector, this is what we would like to see happening. And I think the same should happen everywhere. So this is an opportunity for people not to sit down and wait for others to do stuff for them. Otherwise, you know, it's like voting. I don't understand people who say, I'm not going to vote because I'm angry. Excuse me. If you don't vote because you're angry, other people are going to vote, and the votes are going to change, to impact your life, whether you like it or not. So if you have views and you play a part, don't just be a member of an organization, okay? You need to be an active member of your sector organization and make sure that you guys play a role in influencing policy making.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moeng, for that answer. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to comment or ask a question? We are now basking in the Basela time. So I had booked Mr. Moeng for a particular time, and thank you so much for really availing yourself to carry on. Any other questions or comments?
Okay.
It looks like we don't have any. But anyway, Mr. Moeng,
Okay.
what will be your final wrap on this? I know we spoke about the role of population and communication, and we spoke about who should be communicating during these harsh times, governments and public sector. It's obvious that we need more stronger private public partnerships, and then the citizens have a big role to play in this whole thing. And you, in a way, you touched on spin doctoring, because some countries would like to do that. When we started with COVID-19, we were praised by WHO to be a country that is doing very well. All of a sudden, we are the country that is leading in the continent in terms of the infections. Now, that does not place South Africa as a preferred destination post-COVID-19. Now, what do we do? Ethics. How ethical should we be in dealing with communication around the destination South Africa?
Yeah. Okay. Look, I don't think we can blame government for the number of infections. I think, in all honesty, I think government has done, the South African government has done the best it can. We see these numbers. It's in the end how you and I behave, whether we protect ourselves and other people, that will determine whether there's going to be more infections out there or not. But what we want to see government doing is to be being more honest. I think at first the South African government was seen to be honest, transparent, consistent in its communication, and over time we saw some messages going in different directions. And we, being South African, we started asking difficult questions about why are you saying about the smoke, or why are you saying I can't walk on the beach on my own if I'm not meeting anybody else? Why are the police and the armies, why are they so harsh on people? You know, so and a contract gets broken like that. The minute we're together in South Africa at first, and then over time the contract was broken because we didn't trust them anymore. We didn't trust when Dlamini Zuma spoke. We didn't trust when they came up with funny rules about you can buy that T-shirt and not that T-shirt. And when the social contract breaks, everything disappears. So government has to appreciate that it's not just about government, and citizens have to know that they have a role to play. The communication professionals must not just act as messengers. They must act as advisors. They must be able to say no, say, or ma'am, that's not right. This is what we do. If you get paid, look at what happened to Bell Pottinger. It's gone. So as a professional, you must act according to the ethics of your profession. Do not take stuff that is not good just for the money, because it's going to come back and haunt you anyway. One day it's going to bite you where you least expect it. So be professional, be an advisor, don't be a messenger for politicians. Politicians will always have tricks to play. Don't be a messenger for them, be an advisor to them. But we all have a role to play. We can't sit down. This is an opportunity to play a role.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moeng. Just before we close, I know other people might have things to say, but there is Chris again, once more, has thrown in a very interesting question, which now not only looks at South Africa as a brand, but the continent as a brand in terms of the airlines. The airline industry taking a knock, and in South Africa, our national carrier taking a knock as well. From the branding perspective, we are going to miss this brand that flies all over the world, ferrying tourists. What is your view on airlines and
Right.
airfares in Africa?
Look, airlines should be worried about connectivity, access. I mean, they need to be catered more. We know that traveling to some destinations in Africa is a struggle. Sometimes you have to go to Europe first and before you join back into. So connectivity is an issue. But affordability management is an issue. In the case of South African Airways is a big one. It's also repeats itself in other SOEs. You know, we've heard the government talking about they need to introduce reforms, but they can't just throw money into an airline if they don't change the way the airline functions, or if they don't take away the political control over the interference of politicians into governance issues. So I think South African Airways must be allowed to die until we're ready to run a professional airline, or until we get to a point where government or politicians don't play a role in how airlines fly. Otherwise, look at Air Ethiopia. It's doing well. It's been praised over and over again. Emirates is doing very well because it's run for professional and professionally. They take decisions that are good for the airline. So we have a long way to go in South Africa. All of us, government has an opportunity to say, you know, maybe the discussion about the zero-based budget that was introduced by Minister Moeng is a way to start. So how are we going to put money into, for what reason? How do we justify the business case? Are we happy with the business case that's being put in front of us for us to put money into it? Maybe that's the way to go, instead of just throwing money at things that are failing anyway, which is what we've been doing. So airlines have to worry about connectivity. They have to worry about, obviously, safety issues are important. They're going to have to reassure us that they're not going to lump us onto seats with people who might give us, you know, or COVID-19, or who might get it from us. So all of those things, all of us have a role to play. We must just seize the opportunity. I think my key message is look at your sector and seize the opportunity to ask for a different contract, social contracts, global contracts, whether it's local level, continental level, regional level. Look at where you think changes must happen, because this is when the foundation for the future is being put onto the ground.
Wow, great. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Moeng. You've laid a foundation for further discussion on branding and country branding. Mr. Moeng, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is the convener of the Africa Brand Summit, which was supposed to take place in the first week of June. It will now take place in October. PRISA has partnered with the Brand Summit to communicate issues around the country brand, because as country, as a brand, you heard him say the most important thing to communicate is internally. So internally, as South Africans, we need to be mobilized. As Africans within the continent, we need to be mobilized to understand what are the issues and how we go about dealing with these issues and challenges. Mr. Moeng, ladies and gentlemen, in the absence of any questions, I would allow you to each say a word, and then we can call it a morning. Yes, Dr. Ludmila.
Yeah.
Ludmila. Unmute yourself. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Right.
It's fine now. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, fine. Okay, so I have just the conclusion for me for this interesting talk is that, you know, the fear, I mean, it reminds me of a sociologist, French sociologist working in Brooklyn in the United States. He says that the fear of insecurity is actually stronger than the insecurity itself. So my conclusion to Sole's talk is that the fear of COVID is actually stronger than the COVID itself. And I would say that, for goodness sake, the COVID is nothing compared to apartheid. And you have managed to overcome apartheid. So COVID is nothing compared to it. As you said, we citizens have a role to play. Thank you so much for actually being that, you know, leader that is actually pushing citizens to act and react constructively. Thank you, Soli.
Thank you. Thank you, Ludmila. Are we still on? I think Victor is gone.
No, I think he muted himself, actually. He has to unmute himself.
Oh,
I believe he's muted himself.
I'm
Needs to
back.
unmute.
I'm
okay.
back. I'm back. All right. Okay,
Okay,
I'm saying
okay.
anyone else to pass a closing remark before we call it a morning?
Oh no, just thank you. It was a great presentation. Definitely opened, it's a different lens with which to look at everything. And I think a big message for me is that not to think in silos, because I think us Africans have a tendency to think in silos about brand South Africa, brand Namibia, when now,
True.
and like Dr. Ludmilla said, we've now been pushed to the point where, once the borders were closed, it's like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? And we have to, if we saw what the Ugandans did and everyone else with the PCR tests and South African guys who came up with their product, with their medical supplies in South Africa, what your president did now, it just shows that when we start thinking as a collective brand Africa, we will push to grow that brand. And I think also it will build within ourselves the confidence that we can do it. I think we have got this disadvantage of having a colonized mindset where we always think everything Western, everything European is so much better. We need some form of validation coming from that side. So that this has definitely given me a thing of as much as, especially COVID, I think, as you said earlier, Victor, was the catalyst. This was always going to happen. It just happened a whole lot sooner. So now we just need to continue that momentum and build brand Africa within ourselves and use our resources, everything else to grow that brand, build our confidence within our own people about the stuff that we send out here and say, we Africans can. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, just a written comment from Noxie Gogo. She says, thank you for reviving the spirit of us and being part of the change that we would like to see as practitioners, citizens, change agents, and now a more united force post-COVID. And Peter Malinga says, thank you so much, PRISA. I am from Kigali, Rwanda, past President, Public Relations Association of Rwanda. Joined a little late, but it was good and informative. Learned a lot, thanks. Have to leave for another meeting. Merci. Have a good weekend. I'll take the lead from Mr. Peter Malinga. Everybody, have a good weekend. We will have another one of these next week.
Thank you, you too.
As mentioned, please do drop us an email. Email, very simple, victor@prisa.co.za. Do recommend topics that you would like us to handle. Even if you would like to share something with you, this is all about thought leadership. We're sharing the best practices. We appreciate you and we love you as a professional body. We look forward to more engagement. The next webinar will be next week. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Victor.
Bye-bye, Lulu.
Have a wonderful Friday, wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Right. Yes, Lulu. Why are you quiet?
I wasn't. I was a bit late, but I managed to get some information that I needed.
Great.
And it was quite helpful. Thank you so much.
No, much appreciated. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Bye. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye. And we have a dynamite here. Tariq, you've left. Are you still here? Tariq? Okay, he's not there. Okay, there's a lady who's been trying to connect and could not get this right. Anyway, this is it. Friday, 26th of June, the second PRISA webinar series coming to an end. Thank you so much.